From a fatal backflip that went horribly wrong in South Africa to a 408-pound barbell crushing a powerlifter's chest in Russia. In this video, we're breaking down 6 bodybuilders and strength athletes who tragically died in front of their fans. And honestly, these stories are a haunting reminder of just how dangerous the pursuit of physical perfection can truly be. Sifiso Lungelo Tabete. Our first story takes us to the vibrant and dynamic bodybuilding scene of South Africa, where a young man named Sifiso Lungelo Tabete had risen from humble beginnings to become one of the most exciting and promising talents the country had ever produced. Born around 1994 in Umlazi, a township located south of Durban in the KwaZulu-Natal province, Tabete discovered bodybuilding at a young age and immediately demonstrated an exceptional aptitude for the sport that would come to define his tragically short life. By the time he reached his early 20s, Tabete had already achieved what many bodybuilders spend their entire careers chasing. He earned the prestigious title of IFBB Junior World Champion in the up to 75 kilogram category, a remarkable accomplishment that marked him as a future star in the international bodybuilding community. But what truly set Tabete apart from his contemporaries wasn't just his impressive physique or his competitive achievements, it was his electrifying stage presence and his signature move that had become legendary among South African bodybuilding fans. You see, Tabete had a tradition. Before his routines, he would perform a spectacular backflip to energize the crowd and announce his arrival on stage. It was a move that perfectly encapsulated his personality, bold, athletic, and utterly fearless. He had performed this backflip countless times before, always landing perfectly, always sending the audience into rapturous applause. Just weeks before the tragedy, in July 2017, Tabete had triumphed at the IFBB Muscle Militia Grand Prix, his backflip celebration drawing thunderous cheers from the crowd. On August 5, 2017, at a community hall in D section, Umlazi, Tabete prepared to compete once again. The 23-year-old champion approached the stage with his characteristic confidence, ready to give the crowd what they had come to expect. He launched into his signature backflip, a move he had executed flawlessly so many times before. But on this day, something went horribly, catastrophically wrong. Whether it was the socks he was wearing on the mat, a slight miscalculation in his positioning, or simply a cruel twist of fate, Tabete failed to complete the full rotation. He landed awkwardly, his head and neck absorbing the full impact of his body weight. The sound that followed was sickening. The audience, which had been ready to erupt in cheers, fell into stunned silence. Several people rushed forward to help, lifting his legs and providing aid as the horrifying reality of the situation began to dawn on everyone present. Tabete was immediately transported to a nearby hospital, but the damage was catastrophic and irreversible. The young champion, who had seemed destined for international greatness, was pronounced dead on arrival. He had broken his neck. The bodybuilding world reacted with profound shock and grief. South African bodybuilding magazine Muscle Evolution issued a statement describing the community as deeply saddened by the loss of such a talented athlete from Umlazi. Wayne Price, a spokesperson for Bodybuilding South Africa, noted that Tabete's family was very upset about the rapid circulation of the video capturing his final moments, pleading with people to stop sharing it out of respect for their grieving process. The video had spread across social media like wildfire, with many viewers initially thinking it might be part of the act before the terrible truth became clear. In the years since his passing, Sifiso Lungelo Tabete has been remembered not for how he died, but for how he lived, as a charismatic, talented young man whose backflip celebrations brought joy to countless fans. His legacy endures as both a celebration of his achievements and a somber reminder of the risks that can come with showmanship in the pursuit of entertaining an audience. Igor Golushkin. Our second story moves away from traditional bodybuilding and into the related world of powerlifting, where athletes test the absolute limits of human strength by lifting enormous weights in competition. It is here, in a competition venue in Russia, that we encounter one of the most sudden and violent deaths on our list, a tragedy that unfolded in mere milliseconds and served as a horrifying reminder of the dangers inherent in strength sports. Igor Golushkin was a 34-year-old powerlifter from Rostov-on-Don, Russia. He was an experienced weightlifter who had spent years developing his strength in the gym, but he was relatively new to competitive events. In fact, the competition where he would meet his end was his first serious competitive outing. Competing in the under 90 kilogram weight category, Golushkin had a training maximum bench press of around 160 kilograms, an impressive number that placed him among the stronger recreational lifters, but well below the elite levels of the sport. On August 25, 2012, at a powerlifting competition in the city of Shati, Russia, Golushkin approached the bench press with ambitious intentions. He was attempting 185 kilograms, approximately 408 pounds, a weight that exceeded his training maximum by a significant margin. It was a risk that competitive athletes often take, pushing beyond their known limits in the pursuit of personal bests and competitive glory. What happened next occurred so quickly that even the spotters positioned beside him had virtually no chance to react. Galushkin was using what experts later described as an open enough grip, an illegal technique that reduced his control over the barbell. As he pressed the weight, the bar slipped from his hands. The heavy barbell, carrying 408 pounds of iron plates, fell directly onto his chest. The impact was catastrophic. The weight caused severe hemorrhaging of Galushkin's heart, destruction of his diaphragm, multiple broken ribs, and a torn abdominal cavity. Experts who later analyzed video footage of the incident estimated that the bar's descent took approximately 67 milliseconds, far too fast for any human being to intercede, despite the presence of spotters on either side. Emergency medical personnel rushed Galushkin to a nearby trauma center, but the damage was beyond any possibility of repair. He died shortly after from what was officially termed a heart concussion, a traumatic injury caused by the massive blunt force trauma to his chest. The incident, which had been filmed as part of the competition's video documentation, would later circulate widely online, becoming one of the most viewed examples of fatal weightlifting accidents. For those who watched it, the footage served as a nightmarish illustration of how quickly things can go wrong in strength sports, and how even the presence of safety personnel cannot guarantee protection against catastrophic failure. The weightlifting and powerlifting communities reacted with a mixture of horror, sadness, and intense discussion about safety protocols. On forums dedicated to strength training, users expressed fear and sympathy, with comments such as "this scares the hell out of me," appearing alongside debates about the responsibilities of spotters and the effectiveness of existing safety measures. This was not, it later emerged, Galushkin's first close call with disaster. During a prior training session, a similar slip had occurred with 180 kilograms, but on that occasion, spotters had managed to catch the weight. That near miss should perhaps have served as a warning, a preview of the tragedy that would eventually unfold on the competitive stage. Igor Galushkin's legacy is primarily that of a cautionary tale, a sobering reminder of the mortal risks that athletes assume when they pursue extreme feats of strength. His death has been cited countless times in discussions about gym safety, proper lifting technique, and the limitations of protective measures like spotters and safety bars. While he never achieved fame as a competitive athlete, his final moments have been viewed by millions and have contributed to ongoing conversations about safety protocols in strength sports. Antonio Leso Braz de Souza. From the powerlifting stages of Russia, our journey now takes us across the globe to Brazil, a country that has become one of the global epicenters of bodybuilding culture. It is here that we encounter the story of Antonio Leso Braz de Souza, a 26-year-old bodybuilder from Manaus in the Amazonas region, whose passion for the sport and love for his family would ultimately lead him down a path ending in tragedy. Antonio began his weight training journey at the remarkably young age of 15, drawn to bodybuilding as a means of building not only physical strength, but also the discipline and character that would serve him throughout his life. Over the next decade, what started as a hobby transformed into a genuine competitive pursuit, with Antonio dedicating himself to the sport for approximately 5 years of serious competition. But for Antonio, bodybuilding was never simply about personal glory or trophy accumulation. It was about creating a better life for the people he loved most. His sister, Mary Braz, would later share that Antonio saw bodybuilding as a vehicle to improve his family's circumstances, particularly for his mother and sister. She described him as intensely focused, never relying on others, and driven by a dream of gaining recognition in the sport that would allow him to provide better opportunities for his loved ones. On social media, Antonio had built a following of over 9,000 people on Instagram, where he regularly shared glimpses into his rigorous training routines, his tattooed and muscular physique, and tender moments with his wife, Yone Farias. On August 3, 2024, Antonio arrived at the Navega Open Bodybuilding Championship in Navegantes, Santa Catarina, in southern Brazil. He was in peak condition, his body honed to razor-sharp definition through weeks of intense preparation. But that preparation had come at a significant cost that Antonio was trying desperately to ignore. To achieve the extreme leanness that judges reward in bodybuilding competitions, he had used diuretics, a common but dangerous practice in the sport that reduces water retention and enhances muscle definition at the expense of severe dehydration. Before taking the stage, Antonio confided in his wife about severe chest pain he was experiencing. Yon would later describe him as being very dry, unfortunately, a phrase that speaks volumes about the dangerous state of dehydration he had subjected himself to in pursuit of competitive excellence. Despite the discomfort and the warning signs his body was sending him, Antonio refused to withdraw. He had worked too hard, sacrificed too much to walk away now. What happened next would haunt everyone who witnessed it. Antonio took to the stage and performed brilliantly, finishing in the top 3 of his category and even winning a trophy for his efforts. But moments after stepping off the stage, his heart, strained beyond its limits by dehydration and the intense physical demands of competition, simply gave out. He collapsed from a massive cardiac arrest. Medical personnel at the venue rushed to his side and worked frantically to save him, but their efforts proved futile. Antonio Lesobras de Souza was pronounced dead, his body transported back to his hometown of Manaus, where he was buried on August 6, 2024. Adding an eerie and heartbreaking dimension to the tragedy, just hours before the competition, Antonio had posted an optimistic video on social media. In it, he smiled at the camera and said, "All right, folks, off to the weigh-in. God willing, everything will go well. We're lean, right? I think you can tell from my face." Those words, so full of hope and anticipation, have since become a poignant final message from a young man who had no idea he was living his final hours. His wife, Yon Farias, was devastated. She posted an emotional tribute video on social media, showing Antonio grinning and flexing, accompanied by words that captured the depth of her loss. "This is how I will remember you, my love. Rest in peace. Although life has ended, my love for you will last forever. Your departure has left a void, but your memory will stay with me always." His sister Mary offered perhaps the most fitting epitaph for a man who gave everything to his sport. She stated that Antonio literally gave his life for this sport. He competed until his last breath. The Navega Open organizers issued a statement of condolence. "Our condolences to the family and friends for this inestimable loss." Antonio's death was not an isolated incident. It marked the 5th bodybuilder death in just 90 days, a grim statistic that would fuel ongoing debates about athlete safety and the dangerous practices that have become normalized within competitive bodybuilding. Jose Mateus Correa Silva. Remaining in Brazil, where bodybuilding culture runs deep and passionate, we now turn our attention to the story of Jose Mateus Correa Silva, a 28-year-old award-winning bodybuilder whose life exemplified the multifaceted nature of modern fitness competitors. Unlike many in the sport who dedicate themselves exclusively to training and competition, Jose was a man of remarkable intellectual accomplishment and entrepreneurial ambition. Born around 1996, Jose possessed both a law degree and a qualification in nutrition, demonstrating the kind of well-rounded character that set him apart from many of his contemporaries. He had competed at the highest levels of Brazilian bodybuilding, achieving a 9th place finish in the men's physique class up to 179 centimeters at the 2018 South American Championships and an 11th place finish in the men's bodybuilding class up to 100 kilograms at the 2017 Arnold Classic South America, achievements that placed him among the elite competitors in Latin American bodybuilding circles. But by the time tragedy struck, Jose had transitioned away from active competition and toward a new phase in his career. He had become a coach and mentor to aspiring bodybuilders, channeling his years of experience and knowledge into helping others achieve their competitive dreams. He also owned an online supplement store, a business venture that allowed him to support the broader fitness community while building financial security for himself and his loved ones. On social media, his followers knew him for his punishing training routines and his transformation stories that inspired countless individuals to begin their own fitness journeys. Despite his imposing physique, those who knew him personally described him as a gentle giant, approachable, kind, and always willing to help others. On November 22nd, 2024, Jose arrived at a gym in Águas Claras, a town near Brasilia, for what should have been a routine training session with friends. At 28 years old, he was in what should have been the prime of his life, fit, strong, and seemingly healthy. There had been no reported prior health issues, no warning signs that anything was amiss. His family would later describe him as being in good shape with no known medical conditions. But during that workout session, as his friends trained alongside him, Jose suddenly collapsed. Cardiac arrest had struck without warning, bringing one of Brazil's most promising fitness professionals to his knees. One of his training partners, who happened to be a firefighter, immediately sprang into action, rushing Jose to a nearby fire station where emergency medical personnel attempted to revive him. The resuscitation efforts lasted over an hour, every possible measure being taken to bring him back, but it was not to be. Jose Mateus Correa Silva was pronounced dead at the scene. The news of his passing sent shockwaves through the global fitness community. His brother, Tiago, shared a deeply emotional tribute on social media that captured the family's devastation. "You were incredible. Thank you for so much. I love you. Heaven has gained an angel." Jose was a much-loved man. Tiago also expressed gratitude to the medical team for their tireless efforts and described the funeral on November 24th, 2024, as a beautiful farewell full of family and friends. The service, which included both evangelical and Catholic ceremonies to honor Jose's spiritual life, drew hundreds of mourners, so many, in fact, that they overflowed the chapel. A testament to the impact this young man had made during his 28 years on Earth. Fans and fellow athletes expressed their grief across social media platforms, with many emphasizing the cruel randomness of his death. One post that gained particular traction noted that the sudden death of Jose Mateus Correa Silva serves as a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of health risks, even for those who appear physically fit. It was a sentiment that resonated deeply with a community that prides itself on health and physical excellence, yet continues to lose members far too young to causes that seem to contradict everything they represent. Jose's legacy lives on through the athletes he mentored, the business he built, and the inspiration he provided to countless individuals pursuing their own fitness goals. His story serves as both a celebration of a life lived with purpose and passion, and a sobering reminder that even the healthiest appearing among us are not immune to the fragility of the human heart. Wanderson da Silva Moreira. Our journey through these tragic stories brings us now to one of the most recent and widely reported incidents in bodybuilding history. On May 10, 2025, at the annual Pantanal Bodybuilding Championship in Campo Grande, western Brazil, a 30-year-old competitor named Wanderson da Silva Moreira would collapse in front of a horrified audience, his death sparking international headlines and renewed conversations about athlete safety in competitive bodybuilding. Wanderson was, by all accounts, a man whose life revolved around two central pillars: his dedication to bodybuilding and his love for his family. Born around 1995, he had built a career competing in regional and national level bodybuilding events, with the Pantanal contest serving as a crucial qualifier for prestigious competitions like Mr. Olympia Brazil and the Arnold Classic South America. But those who knew Wanderson personally described him as far more than just an athlete. He was remembered as a family-oriented individual with a generous spirit, a devoted husband and father of two children who frequently shared moments with his loved ones on social media. There was, however, a shadow hanging over Wanderson's athletic pursuits that those close to him were well aware of. He had a history of high blood pressure, a condition that is particularly dangerous for competitive bodybuilders who subject their cardiovascular systems to extreme stress during training and competition. Despite this known risk factor, Wanderson continued to pursue his competitive dreams with unwavering determination. On the morning of the Pantanal Championship, Wanderson felt unwell. His body was sending him warning signals that something was not right, that perhaps this was not the day to push his limits on a competitive stage. But Wanderson, like so many athletes before him who have ignored the pleas of their bodies in pursuit of glory, refused to withdraw. He had trained too hard, sacrificed too much, and come too far to walk away now. Hours before taking the stage, Wanderson posted what would become a heartbreaking final message on social media. Accompanying a photo of his wife, he wrote, "Today I came without you, but I will do my best to take one more home." It was a touching dedication, a promise to honor the woman he loved by bringing back a trophy from the competition. Neither he nor his wife could have known that those words would be among his last. Wanderson took the stage and completed his posing routine, but those watching closely could see that something was wrong. He appeared unsteady, his movements lacking the precision and control that judges and audiences expect from competitive bodybuilders. Then, near the backstage area, in full view of judges, spectators, and fellow competitors, Wanderson collapsed. Emergency medics responded immediately, initiating what would become an agonizing battle to save his life. For over 80 minutes, medical personnel performed cardiac massage, administered 6 defibrillator shocks, provided medication, and intubated him in a desperate attempt to restore his heartbeat. But despite their heroic efforts, Wanderson da Silva Moreira was pronounced dead at the scene from what appeared to be cardiac arrest. In a decision that many would later criticize, the competition continued as normal after Wanderson's death. The tragedy was compounded by the fact that it occurred just 1 week after another Brazilian bodybuilder, Guilherme Henrique, known as Gui Bull, also aged 30, had died suddenly. The back-to-back deaths sent shockwaves through the Brazilian and international bodybuilding communities. Wanderson's coach shared an emotional tribute that captured the depth of loss felt by those who knew him personally. "I have no words to describe the depth of sadness and shock I still feel. He was not an athlete, he was a great friend, a family man, a man with a huge heart who was always willing to help those who needed him. We can only mourn his loss and ask God to comfort especially his family and all of us. You are and always will be part of our team and family." Fans expressed their grief across social media platforms, with many noting the cruel irony of a man dying while doing what he loved. One commenter captured the sentiment simply, "He died doing what he loved." Others called for the bodybuilding community to reflect seriously on the health risks associated with the sport, with one user offering a stark warning, a stark reminder to check your BP as an AAS user. Wanderson da Silva Moreira's legacy extends beyond his competitive achievements. He is remembered as a loving husband and father whose social media presence revealed a man who treasured the simple joys of family life alongside his athletic pursuits. His story has become a focal point in ongoing discussions about athlete health, particularly the dangers of competing with undiagnosed or untreated conditions like high blood pressure. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.